Today is the 7th of September 2010, and this is the 49th time we are speaking on the Majjhima Nikaya Suttas. Tonight we come to another very important sutta, number 119, Kayagatasati Sutta, mindfulness of the body, or recollection of the body. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. Now a number of monks were sitting in the assembly hall where they had met together on returning from their alms round after their meal. When this discussion arose among them, "It is wonderful, friends, it is marvelous how it has been said by the Blessed One who knows and sees, Arahant Sammasambuddha, that mindfulness of the body, when developed and cultivated, is of great fruit and great benefit." However, the discussion was interrupted, for the Blessed One rose from meditation when it was evening, went to the assembly hall and sat down on a seat made ready. Then he addressed the monks thus, "Monks, for what discussion are you sitting together here now, and what was your discussion that was interrupted?" "Here, Venerable Sir, we were sitting in the assembly hall where we had met together on returning from our alms round after our meal. When this discussion arose among us, "It is wonderful, friends, it is marvelous how it has been said by the Blessed One who knows and sees, Arahant Sammasambuddha, that mindfulness of the body, when developed and cultivated, is of great fruit and great benefit." This was our discussion, Venerable Sir, that was interrupted when the Blessed One arrived. "And how, monks, is mindfulness of the body developed and cultivated so that it is of great fruit and great benefit?" "Here a monk, gone to the forest, or to the root of a tree, or to an empty hut, sits down, having folded his legs crosswise, set his body erect, and established mindfulness in front of him. Ever mindful, he breathes in, mindful, he breathes out. Breathing in long, he understands, I breathe in long. Or breathing out long, he understands, I breathe out long. Breathing in short, he understands, I breathe in short. Or breathing out short, he understands, I breathe out short. He trains thus, I shall breathe in, experiencing the whole body of breath. He trains thus, I shall breathe out, experiencing the whole body of breath. He trains thus, I shall breathe in, tranquilizing the bodily volition. He trains thus, I shall breathe out, tranquilizing the bodily volition. As he abides thus diligent, ardent, and resolute, his memories and intentions based on the household life are abandoned. With their abandoning, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. That is how a monk develops mindfulness of the body. Stop for a moment. So here the Buddha says, talks about this mindfulness of the body, and the first body, the first object of meditation he discusses here is Anapanasati, mindfulness of the breath, which we went through last night. And the Buddha likes to talk about this because this is his own object of meditation, his particular method of meditation. Here, this last part is quite interesting. It says, as he abides thus diligent, ardent, and resolute, his memories and intentions based on the household life are abandoned. And with their abandoning, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. This one, when a monk first goes forth, there is a lot of memories based on the household life that comes to disturb him. And if he's not able to control this, bring this under control, very often a monk cannot stay long in robes. He will disrobe if he cannot fix this problem of being agitated by all these memories and all this. As the Buddha says, that family ties are extremely strong. So especially in the beginning, when a person first goes forth, I can say from my own experience, for 1 year, these memories kept haunting me, all these ties, and So it was only after 1 year that slowly I got used to it, and it wasn't so much agitated by it. So here the Buddha says that if we concentrate on meditation, that's the way to quiet our mind, make our mind more tranquil. Then we don't think so much. All this agitation in the mind is because of the habit of thinking. The Buddha says a normal person has this tendency for the mind to proliferate, which he calls papancha, proliferation of the mind. One thought becomes 10, 10 thoughts become 100, 100 thoughts become 1,000, multiplies very fast. There's nothing faster than the mind. So if you have a lot of attachments based on the home life, then all these memories come up. Again, monks, when walking, a monk understands, I am walking. When standing, he understands, I am standing. When sitting, he understands, I am sitting. When lying down, he understands, I am lying down. Or he understands accordingly however his body is disposed. As he abides thus diligent, ardent and resolute, his memories and intentions based on the household life are abandoned. That too is how a monk develops mindfulness of the body. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is talking about this mindfulness of the four postures. So the point is to not allow the mind to stray. Whenever the mind strays, we become agitated, we are disturbed. So we have to keep our mindfulness always on the object of meditation. The Buddha always says that we should put our attention only on four things. Either it's the body, or on our feelings, or on our mind, or on the Dhamma that we have learned. Again, monks, a monk is one who acts in full awareness when going forward and returning, who acts in full awareness when looking ahead and looking away, who acts in full awareness when flexing and extending his limbs, who acts in full awareness when wearing his robes and carrying his outer robe and bowl, who acts in full awareness when eating, drinking, consuming food and tasting, who acts in full awareness when defecating and urinating, who acts in full awareness when walking, standing, sitting, falling asleep, waking up, talking and keeping silent. As he abides thus diligent, ardent and resolute, his memories and intentions based on the household life are abandoned. That too is how a monk develops mindfulness of the body. So this is also about mindfulness, mindfulness of whatever you do. So as I mentioned just now, is to be either putting your attention on these four objects of sati, recollection, or you are mindful of whatever you do. Again, monks, a monk reviews this same body up from the soles of the feet and down from the top of the hair, bounded by skin, as full of many kinds of impurity. Thus, in this body there are head hairs, body hairs, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinew, bone, marrow, kidney, heart, liver, diaphragm, spleen, lung, large intestine, small intestine, contents of the stomach, feces. There's one. In this sutta is not here. After feces is brain, bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tear, grease, spittle, snot, all of the joint, urine. Just as though there were a bag with an opening at both ends full of many sorts of grain, such as hill rice, red rice, beans, peas, millet and white rice. And a man with good eyes were to open it and review it thus. This is hill rice, this is red rice, these are beans, these are peas, this is millet, this is white rice. So too a monk reviews this same body as full of many kinds of impurity thus. In this body there are head hairs, body hairs, etc. As he abides thus diligent, ardent and resolute, his memories and intentions based on the household life are abandoned. That too is how a monk develops mindfulness of the body. Stop here for a moment. This meditation on the 32 parts of the body is also known as the meditation on foulness or unattractiveness of the body. Normally, we are so used to seeing the outside of a body. When we look at any body, we either say it's handsome or beautiful or ugly, just based on the outside. As they say, beauty is skin deep. So we don't see the inside. When we recite these parts of the body frequently, then we remember all these parts of the body. So then when we look at the body, these parts of the body come up, and the body doesn't become so attractive anymore. So this meditation, there are two purposes. One is to reduce this sensual lust, and another one is to build up our concentration. So this chanting of these 32 parts of the body, either we do slow or we do fast. If we do slow, then we contemplate one by one these parts of the body, and that is more of a insight meditation. And if we do fast, then we don't think about the parts of the body. We just chant quickly, head, hair, body, hair, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinew, bone, marrow, kidney, heart, like that. So that is a concentration exercise to keep our mind from running. And if you want to chant slowly and understand the parts, then you can do like what I did, ask somebody to go and buy the pig organs, because a lot of the pig organs are very similar to human organs, like the heart, the lung, the spleen, and all these things. So you take those organs, you look at it, you know what it looks like, then you touch it, you know it's hard or soft, all this. So that when you chant one by one slowly, you can picture it, you can understand you can understand it better, so it's easier to picture it. So this meditation, in fact this meditation on the 32 parts of the body is the first meditation that the Buddha taught after enlightenment. When the Buddha taught his disciples meditation, this was the first meditation he taught them. So I was thinking, how come the Buddha himself practiced anapanasati, mindfulness of the breath? How come he taught the 32 parts of the body which he did not practice? So I thought probably a Sammasambuddha, if he wants to teach, he would probably look into the past, how the previous Sammasambuddhas taught. And maybe all the Sammasambuddhas teach this meditation, because we are so attached to the body, attached to lust, sensual desire, all this. So it's very important to cut this. So also to see the body, besides being not so attractive, to see there's no self in the body, just composed of parts. So that's why, because it's a very important meditation, probably all Sammasambuddhas teach this as the first meditation. Only later, when remember Ananda requested, then he taught Anapanasati. So this is a very important meditation. Again, monks, a monk reviews the same body, however it is placed, however disposed, as consisting of elements thus. In this body there are the earth element, water element, fire element, and air element. Just as though a skilled butcher or his apprentice had killed a cow and was seated at the crossroads with it cut up into pieces, so too a monk reviews the same body, however it is placed, however disposed, as consisting of elements thus. In this body there are the earth element, the water element, the fire element, and the air element. As he abides thus diligent, ardent, and resolute, his memories and intentions connected with the household life are abandoned. That too is how a monk develops mindfulness of the body. Stop here for a moment. So here another meditation method is to consider the body as made up of the four great elements, earth, water, fire, wind, or air. And as I mentioned before, these four elements refers to the perception of our body. The earth element refers to the hardness, perception of hardness. Whatever is hard is considered the earth element. So inside the body, like the bones are hard. In fact, the first half of the 32 parts of the body deals with the earth element, the organs, like head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinew, bone marrow, maybe not so hard. Kidney, liver, spleen, lung, and all these things. So the earth element refers to the elements which are hard or relatively hard. The water element refers to the blood, the tears, spittle, snot, all of the joint, urine, and all that. Fire element refers to the heat in us. The heat helps to digest our food and make things mellow, age, and all that. The air element is the wind element in us that makes the gases move in our bowels, intestines, that makes the blood flow, etc. So this is another type of meditation on the body, looking into the elements of the body. Again, monks, as though he were to see a corpse thrown aside in a charnel ground, 1, 2, or 3 days dead, bloated, livid, and oozing matter. A monk compares this same body with it thus. This body too is of the same nature. It will be like that. It is not exempt from that fate. As he abides thus diligent, the memories and intentions based on the household life are abandoned. That too is how a monk develops mindfulness of the body. Again, as though he were to see a corpse thrown aside in a charnel ground, being devoured by crows, hawks, vultures, dogs, jackals, or various kinds of worms. A monk compares this same body with it thus. This body too is of the same nature. It will be like that. It is not exempt from that fate. As he abides thus diligent, etc., that too is how a monk develops mindfulness of the body. Again, as though he were to see a corpse thrown aside in a charnel ground, a skeleton with flesh and blood held together with sinews, and then later a fleshless skeleton smeared with blood held together with sinews, and later a skeleton without flesh and blood held together with sinews, and later a disconnected bone scattered in all directions, here a hand bone, there a foot bone, here a shin bone, there a thigh bone, here a hip bone, there a backbone, here a rib bone, there a breastbone, here an arm bone, there a shoulder bone, here a neck bone, there a jaw bone, here a tooth, there the skull. A monk compares this same body with it thus. This body too is of the same nature. It will be like that. It is not exempt from that fate. As he abides thus diligent, etc., that too is how a monk develops mindfulness of the body. Again, as though he were to see a corpse thrown aside in a charnel ground, bones bleached white, the color of shells, bones heaped up more than a year old, bones rotted and crumbled to dust. A monk compares this same body with it thus. This body too is of the same nature. It will be like that. It is not exempt from that fate. As he abides thus diligent, etc., etc., that too is how a monk develops mindfulness of the body. So this part is about the different stages of corpse decay, starting with a fresh corpse, about 3 days dead. You consider, I think some of you have seen some people who have died. If you have gone for funerals, you would have seen the body in a coffin, just like here, bloated, livid, oozing matter. So smelly, but of course nowadays they don't make they put all the dry ice and all that. It's not smelly and all that, not bloated and all that. But we consider like sometimes a dog has died by the roadside. Then you see slowly becomes bloated. Then after a few days, the skin will break, and then you see all the matter oozing out, and slowly you can see all the maggots, full of maggots. So the human corpse is also like that. So here is described, all the various stages of decay of a corpse. And the Buddha advises to consider that our body is one day is going to face the same fate. We cannot run away from this fate. So it's because the body is going to die one day. So the Buddha is telling us, don't be attached to it. If you are attached to it, then either your own body or the body of someone else, and when it dies, you are going to suffer because of attachment. This meditation, very few people want to practice this meditation, but it's a very good meditation to see non-self, to see that this body is so impermanent. One day is here, one day is no more around. So it's a very, very, very good meditation to understand anatta, not self. Again, monks, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, a monk enters upon and abides in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applied and sustained thought, with delight and pleasure born of seclusion. He makes the delight and pleasure born of seclusion drench, steep, fill and pervade this body, so that there is no part of his whole body unpervaded by the delight and pleasure born of seclusion. Just as a skilled bathman or a bathman's apprentice heaps bath powder in a metal basin and sprinkling it gradually with water, kneads it till the moisture wets his ball of bath powder, soaks it and pervades it inside and out, yet the ball itself does not ooze. So too a monk makes the delight and pleasure born of seclusion drench, steep, fill and pervade this body, so that there is no part of his whole body unpervaded by the delight and pleasure born of seclusion. As he abides thus diligent, etc., that too is how a monk develops mindfulness of the body. Stop here for a moment. There are not many suttas which gives this very detailed description of how to practice the first jhana. After getting the first jhana, the Buddha says you have to make the piti and sukha drench, steep, fill and pervade the whole body. So it shows when a person is in the first jhana, he can incline his attention to the body and make the piti and sukha drench and steep and fill the body. So it's not that when you enter the jhana, you're not aware of the body. Initially, you might not pay attention to the body, but as the Buddha says here, you can incline your intention to the body and make the piti and sukha drench and steep and fill the body. This is a very important instruction that nowadays you find is not taught by meditation teachers. That's why I always say the Buddha is the best teacher. All his instructions in the suttas are complete and perfect. Again, monks, with the stilling of applied and sustained thought, a monk enters upon and abides in the second jhana, which has self-confidence and singleness of mind without applied and sustained thought, with delight and pleasure born of concentration. Stop here for a moment. Last night I was trying to find this part actually. It says here in the second jhana, there is self-confidence and singleness of mind. In other words, this unification of mind in the second jhana is much more pronounced than in the first jhana. In the first jhana, you still have this vitaka and vichara, applied and sustained thought. But in the second jhana, vitaka and vichara is eliminated. There is no thought at all. There's unification of mind. Although there is awareness. He makes the delight and pleasure born of concentration. You see, this delight and rapture and pleasure is born of concentration. Drench, steep, fill and pervade this body, so that there is no part of his whole body unpervaded by the delight and pleasure born of concentration. Just as though there were a lake whose waters welled up from below, and it had no inflow from east, west, north or south, and would not be replenished from time to time by showers of rain. Then the cool fount of water welling up in the lake would make the cool water drench, steep, fill and pervade the lake, so that there would be no part of the whole leg unpervaded by cool water. So too a monk makes a delight and pleasure born of concentration, drench, steep, fill and pervade this body, so that there is no part of his whole body unpervaded by the delight and pleasure born of concentration. As he abides thus diligent, etc. That too is how a monk develops mindfulness of the body. Again, monks, with the steep fading away as well of delight, a monk abides in equanimity and mindful and fully aware. Still feeling pleasure with the body, he enters upon and abides in the third jhana, on account of which noble ones announced, he has a pleasant abiding, who has equanimity and is mindful. He makes the pleasure divested of delight, drench, steep, fill, and pervade this body, so that there is no part of his whole body unpervaded by the pleasure divested of delight. Just as in a pond of blue or white or red lotuses, some lotuses that are born and grow in the water thrive immersed in the water without rising out of it, and cool water drenches, steeps, fills and pervades them to their tips and their roots, so that there is no part of all those lotuses unpervaded by cool water. So too a monk makes the pleasure divested of delight, drench, steep, fill and pervade this body, so that there is no part of his whole body unpervaded by the pleasure divested of delight. As he abides thus diligent, etc. That too is how a monk develops mindfulness of the body. Again, monks, with the abandoning of pleasure and pain, and with the previous disappearance of joy and grief, a monk enters upon and abides in the fourth jhana, which has neither pain nor pleasure, and utter purity of mindfulness and equanimity. He sits pervading this body with a pure, bright mind, so that there is no part of his whole body unpervaded by the pure, bright mind. Just as though a man were sitting covered from head down with a white cloth, so that there would be no part of his whole body not covered by the white cloth. So too a monk sits pervading this body with a pure, bright mind, so that there is no part of his body unpervaded by the pure, bright mind. As he abides thus diligent, ardent and resolute, his memories and intentions based on the household life are abandoned. With their abandoning, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness and concentrated. That too is how a monk develops mindfulness of the body. Stop here for a moment. So here you see the difference of the fourth jhana from the others. Is that in this state of the fourth jhana, this brightness pervades the whole body and mind. And there is a sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya, I think, where the Buddha said, the most ideal condition for insight to arise is a mind cultivated until it is bright. When the mind, like in this fourth jhana, is cultivated until it is bright, all the kilesas, all the hindrances are totally eliminated at that point. So that's why in another sutta the Buddha says that a person who attains the fourth jhana, he understands everything that he needs to understand so clearly. His mind is so bright and so he can see very clearly things as they really are. Monks, anyone who has developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body has included within himself whatever wholesome states there are that partake of true knowledge. Just as anyone who has extended his mind over the great ocean has included within it whatever streams there are that flow into the ocean, so too anyone who has developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body has included within himself whatever wholesome states there are that partake of true knowledge. Monks, when anyone has not developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body, Mara finds an opportunity and a support in him. Suppose a man were to throw a heavy stone ball upon a mound of wet clay. What do you think, monks? Would that heavy ball find entry into that mound of wet clay? Yes, noble sir. So too, monks, when anyone has not developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body, Mara finds an opportunity and a support in him. Suppose there were a dry, sapless piece of wood, and a man came with an upper fire stick, thinking, I shall light the fire, I shall produce heat. What do you think, monks? Could the man light a fire and produce heat by rubbing the dry, sapless piece of wood with an upper fire stick? Yes, Venerable Sir. So too, monks, when anyone has not developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body, Mara finds an opportunity and a support in him. Suppose there were a hollow, empty water jug set out on a stand, and a man came with a supply of water. What do you think, monks? Could the man pour the water into the jug? Yes, Venerable Sir. So too, monks, when anyone has not developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body, Mara finds an opportunity and a support in him. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha says, if someone has not developed mindfulness of the body to the extent of attaining the jhanas, then his mind is very weak, and Mara can find an opportunity to overcome him. Mara is always looking for an opportunity and always tempting us with the 5 chords of sensual pleasure. That is Mara's bait. Beautiful forms to see, sounds to hear, etc. Monks, when anyone has developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body, Mara cannot find an opportunity or a support in him. Suppose a man were to throw a light ball of string at a door panel made entirely of hardwood. What do you think, monks? Would that light ball of string find entry to that door panel made entirely of hardwood? No, Venerable Sir. So too, monks, when anyone has developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body, Mara cannot find an opportunity or a support in him. Suppose there were a wet, sappy piece of wood, and a man came with an upper fire stick, thinking, I shall light the fire, I shall produce heat. What do you think, monks? Could that man light a fire and produce heat by taking the upper fire stick and rubbing it against the wet, sappy piece of wood? No, Venerable Sir. So too, monks, when anyone has developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body, Mara cannot find an opportunity or a support in him. Suppose set up on a stand there were a water jug full of water right up to the brim so that crows could drink from it, and a man came with a supply of water. What do you think, monks? Could the man pour the water into the jug? No, Venerable Sir. So too, monks, when anyone has developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body, Mara cannot find an opportunity or a support in him. So here the Buddha is saying that when we develop mindfulness of the body to that extent mentioned here, having attained the jhanas, then Mara cannot overcome you with all the bait. Monks, when anyone has developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body, then when he inclines his mind towards realizing any state that may be realized by direct knowledge, he attains the ability to witness any aspect therein, there being a suitable basis. Suppose, set out on a stand, there were a water jug full of water right up to the brim so that crows could drink from it. Whenever a strong man tips it, would water come out? Yes, Venerable Sir. So too, monks, when anyone has developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body, then when he inclines his mind towards realizing any state that may be realized by direct knowledge, he attains the ability to witness any aspect therein, there being a suitable basis. Suppose there were a square pond on a level ground, surrounded by an embankment, full of water right up to the brim so that crows could drink from it. Whenever a strong man loosens the embankment, would water come out? Yes, Venerable Sir. So too, monks, when anyone has developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body, he attains the ability to witness any aspect therein, there being a suitable basis. Suppose there were a chariot on even ground at the crossroads, harnessed to thoroughbreds, waiting with goad lying ready, so that a skilled trainer, a charioteer of horses to be tamed, might mount it, and taking the reins in his left hand and the goad in his right hand, might drive out and back by any road whenever he likes. So too, monks, when anyone has developed and cultivated mindfulness of the body, etc., he attains the ability to witness any aspect therein, there being a suitable basis. So here the Buddha says, if a person has developed mindfulness of the body, then he can attain whatever knowledge he wants to attain, provided there is a suitable basis. And this suitable basis must be the 4 jhanas. Because in the suttas, the Buddha always says, when a person has attained the 4 jhanas, the 4 rupa jhanas, then if he wants to attain the various abhinyas, the higher knowledges, or the psychic powers, he can attain them up to destruction of the asavas, which means liberation. Monks, when mindfulness of the body has been repeatedly practiced, developed, cultivated, used as a vehicle, used as a basis, established, consolidated, and well undertaken, these 10 benefits may be expected. What 10? One becomes a conqueror of discontent, and discontent does not conquer oneself. One abides overcoming discontent whenever it arises. Now stop here for a moment. This discontent, you can see it like when a person first renounces, then all that memories and intentions based on the home life surface, then he's very agitated, very discontented. But if he practices very hard mindfulness of the body, then he overcomes this discontent. Number 2, one becomes a conqueror of fear and dread, and fear and dread do not conquer oneself. One abides overcoming fear and dread whenever they arise. Just earlier we read one sutta, how the fool, fear arises in the fool, not in the wise man. And I mentioned that this fear is because the fear is inside of him, that it surfaces whenever the outside conditions are right. So that is partly because the mind is not strong. The mind has fear, the mind is agitated. But if a person practices this mindfulness of the body and the mind becomes one-pointed, then the mind calms down and fear and dread can be overcome because a mind that is one-pointed is a very strong mind, is a very solid mind. It's not easily moved by outside conditions. Number 3, one bears cold and heat, hunger and thirst, and contact with gadflies, mosquitoes, wind and sun, and creeping things. One endures ill-spoken, unwelcome words and arisen bodily feelings that are painful, racking, sharp, piercing, disagreeable, distressing and menacing to life. Stop here for a moment. So here, as I mentioned just now, the mind has attained one-pointedness, then it is stable, it is not easily shaken by outside conditions, all these hunger, thirst, unpleasant words, etc., pain, all this, you can stand much better. That's why I usually tell lay people, in fact I tell everybody if they can, early in the morning when they wake up to practice some meditation. If they practice some meditation, they get a bit of concentration, especially lay people when they go and work, they get a lot of pressure, they get a lot of stress, they get a lot of scolding and all that. And they can take it much better. The mind is more calm. Number 4, one obtains at will without trouble or difficulty the 4 jhanas that constitute the higher mind and provide a pleasant abiding here and now. So this number 4 refers to the 4 jhanas. And after this, the Buddha talks about the 6 abhinya, higher knowledges. One wields the number 5. One wields the various kinds of psychic power. One body becoming many bodies, etc. One can fly like a bird, etc. And then number 6, with the divine or heavenly ear element, which is purified and surpasses the human, one hears both kinds of sounds, the divine and the human, those that are far as well as near. Number 7, one understands the minds of other beings, of other persons, having encompassed them with one's own mind. One understands a mind affected by lust as affected by lust, etc. Number 8, one recollects one's manifold past lives, that is 1 birth, 2 births, 3, 10, 100, 1,000 cycles of world system, etc. Thus with the aspects and particulars, one recollects one's manifold past lives. With the divine eye, which is purified and surpasses the human, one sees beings passing away and reappearing, inferior and superior, fair and ugly, fortunate and unfortunate, and one understands how beings pass on according to their actions. 10. By realizing for oneself with direct knowledge, one here and now enters upon and abides in the liberation by mind and liberation by wisdom that are taintless with the destruction of the taints. Monks, when mindfulness of the body has been repeatedly practiced, developed, cultivated, used as a vehicle, used as a basis, established, consolidated and well undertaken, these 10 benefits may be expected. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. That's the end of the sutta. So, just to recap, when the Buddha says mindfulness of the body, Here the Buddha gives a few examples. Breathing is one, because the Buddha says the breath is a type of body. And if a person practices this meditation on the breath diligently, when the mind becomes one-pointed and concentrated, and the memories and intentions based on the household life fade away. And then the next one is the posture, to be aware of the four postures, whether you are walking or standing or sitting or lying down. Always be mindful of your posture without allowing the mind to stray and think. The third one is mindfulness of whatever we do, whether we are eating or drinking or stretching our hand or wearing our clothes, etc. And the next one is the 32 parts of the body, to recite the parts of the body and to consider one by one. That's one way, or to recite fast and use it as a concentration exercise. And the next one is to consider the body as made out of the four great elements, earth, water, fire, wind. And after that is a contemplation of the corpse, to consider how one day, not too far, not in the not too distant future, our body will become a corpse, become bloated, blue-black, oozing matter and all that, stinking. So after that, it will decay, and the flesh will slowly disappear. Slowly, the sinews also will break up, and then the bones start to go in different directions. And after a few years, even the bones also will crumble to dust. And then after that, attaining the jhanas by practicing unremitting mindfulness on one object all the time, that will bring you to the jhanas. Then, if a person can attain 4 jhanas, then the Buddha says, then you want to incline your mind to realize whatever knowledge you want, you can. And lastly, the Buddha talks about the 10 benefits of constantly practicing mindfulness of the body.